If you've listened to some of our previous episodes, you know that we love to try and solve life's little mysteries, answering some of those things that you've always wondered about, from products, pets, and pastimes, to customs and curious turns of the phrase. We love to investigate. Think of us like those famous detectives of the past, wearing a trench coat, stepping into the foggy night, a magnifying glass in hand, making our way down the cobblestone street, searching for clues, and walking directly into a lamppost. Yeah, it's foggy. Well, while we pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and head back inside, why don't you settle in, relax, and get ready to uncover some everyday mysteries. Welcome to the podcast.
It's the Always Wondered podcast.
Hi, I'm Rick Peterson. Thanks for joining us. Have you ever rage flipped a board game because your cousin Norman bought Boardwalk, slapped a hotel on it, and bankrupted you all in one turn? Yep. Welcome to Monopoly, the only game that's ruined more family holidays than politics and poorly cooked turkey combined. Other than chess and checkers, which have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, Monopoly is the best-selling board game of all time. At last count, something like 275 million sold. So have you always wondered who created Monopoly? Well, let's roll the dice and see where this story lands. Spoiler alert, probably in jail.
How did I make it big? I know how. I'm Monopoly game.
The conventional Monopoly story told for years is a really good one. In the 1930s, at the height of the Depression, unemployed Pennsylvania salesman Charles Darrow was struggling to make ends meet. He dreamt of better days when he and his family summered in Atlantic City. So in his spare time, he developed a board game about buying and selling property in Atlantic City. Eventually, Parker Brothers bought the rights to the game. They paid Darrow handsome royalties, and Monopoly became a board game sensation. An incredible tale of a man who achieved great wealth by creating a game about achieving great wealth.
We're in the money.
It's the American dream realized, and Parker Brothers peddled that story for years. But plot twist, that's not the actual story. The real origin of Monopoly goes back to 1904, when a Maryland woman named Lizzie Magie developed the Landlord's Game. Now here's the weird part. Her goal was to expose the dangers of monopolies and show how they led to inequality. And it came in two versions. The good guy version, where wealth was shared and people worked together, or the evil version, where players would crush each other under the iron boot of rent inflation. Care to guess which one America picked? Yeah. Now fast forward several years, and that game was eventually introduced to none other than Mr. Charles Darrow. And kind of like Monopoly, he took over someone else's property and slapped his name on it. Yeah, we knew his story was too good to be true.
How do those Parker brothers sleep at night?
In the end, Lizzie Magie would not pass go and would not collect $200. Truth is, they gave her $500, but zero royalties. And it was only after her death that she received credit for her Monopoly contribution. Meanwhile, Charles Darrow became a millionaire. So the next time you're mortgaging your last orange property and contemplating flipping the board into your uncle's mashed potatoes, just remember, this game was never meant to make you rich, because the best-selling game called Monopoly was actually based on a game that was very much anti-Monopoly.
The Always Wondered podcast.
Back in grade school, we would write it, we would recite it, and we would even sing it. And today, we explore it. So have you always wondered where the alphabet came from? Now, the alphabet is an amazing thing. It's allowed the writing of some great novels.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
And the composing of some of your not-so-great 2 a.m. texts while half asleep.
Smuff Raffle Cormo Kling Fuzz Grapple.
But the alphabet didn't just show up at the schoolyard ready to rumble. No, it evolved. Sometimes awkwardly, with lots of ingredients. Kind of like a giant steaming cultural bowl of alphabet soup.
Your favorite alphabet soup.
So we're taking the Wayback Machine and going way back to around 1800 BC. At that time, humans were communicating with systems such as Egyptian hieroglyphics. consider them early emojis. They looked cool, but really weren't user-friendly.
It's taken me 3 hours to carve banana into this rock. At this rate, I'll never finish my shopping list.
So, Semitic-speaking workers in Egypt said,
Yeah, what if we just made some squiggles for each sound instead?
enter the Proto-Semitic script, believed to be the first true alphabet. Efficient, revolutionary, and a huge win for lazy scribes everywhere. Now fast forward a few hundred years, and the Phoenicians, legendary traders, and even better simplifiers, took those early letters, cleaned them up a bit, and made a tiny little 22-character alphabet, but without vowels. I mean, that's kind of like building a car and saying,
Who needs wheels?
but that's how they rolled. From there, the alphabet spread like gossip at a family reunion with an open bar. The Greeks borrowed it and finally invited A, E, I, O, and U to the party.
And sometimes Y?
Yeah, sometimes Y sort of crashed the festivities, but no one had the heart to kick it out.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Then the Romans latched on and made it all Latin and pretty much turned it into the alphabet that we use today. So it basically was the world's most successful group project. Unlike in middle school, where that girl Kathy always insisted on doing all the work.
Yeah, she was always so bossy.
But not all the letters had smooth careers. G was an apprentice for a while. It started out as a C, but eventually branched out on its own. U and V were the same letters for centuries. J didn't even show up until the Renaissance. That's when they decided that the letter I had too much on its plate. And Z was kicked out entirely for a while, but eventually worked its way back in, albeit at the back of the bus. But we love them all, and we even showed our love by covering them with sugar and turning them into a breakfast cereal.
Your lovable postman is here with Post Alphabet.
So the next time you're at your keyboard, you're not just typing random symbols, you're using the fossilized remains of ancient civilizations, innovations, and people who really did not want to carve another picture of a bird into a stone tablet.
It's the Always Wondered podcast.
At this podcast, we love to pull the weird threads of language, yank hard, and see what unravels. And this week, we're looking at the thumb. It's all over our language. Green thumb, brown thumb, thumb-a-ride, twiddle your thumbs. They all kind of make sense. But there's one that's a bit baffling. Rule of thumb. So have you always wondered where that phrase got started? Well, let's start with how we use it today. You might say,
as a rule of thumb, I double the amount of garlic in every recipe.
Or,
as a rule of thumb, I never date anyone who owns more than 3 swords.
It's a casual way to say general guideline, a rough estimate. Not written in stone, but maybe scribbled on the back of a takeout menu. Its roots lie in craftsmanship. Back in the 16 and 1700s, before tape measures, before laser levels, and before apps that show if your new couch will fit in your virtual living room, there were thumbs. A thumb, roughly an inch, became a handy built-in reference tool. Woodworkers, tailors, bakers, they all use their thumbs to eyeball things. Need to shorten that plank?
Aye, just slap down your thumb.
Need to lengthen that pant leg?
Rule of thumb, lad.
It was like an analog version of...
Yeah, close enough.
And we've been using that phrase ever since. And of course, these idioms are always open to interpretation. So if you have any other ideas, or just want to give us a thumbs up or thumbs down, just let us know. We promise not to measure anything. We'll just guesstimate and maybe use it on a future podcast.
The Always Wondered podcast.
Well, that's going to put the wraps on another episode. Hopefully you can take some of the little knowledge you learned today and go and impress or annoy your friends. Depends on your mood. And since we learned about both the alphabet and thumbs today, maybe you can put both to use and send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. Write to us at alwayswonderedpodcast@gmail.com. And if you feel really generous, maybe give us a 5-star rating and a review. They go a long way toward helping to spread the word about this little podcast that we call Always Wondered. As always, we leave you with one to ponder. Have you always wondered why bubblegum is pink? There must be a story there, and we promise to explore that on a future episode. Until then, stay curious and keep wondering. I'm Rick Peterson. Thanks for listening.
The Always Wondered podcast. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and a review. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you pod. Feel free to offer suggestions for future topics or simply reach out to alwayswonderedpodcast@gmail.com.